Christian soldier. Love you. God bless you. Back in the Bible. Got the old King James here tonight. All the way back from 1382 when it began to be translated from the Anglo-Saxon language. It had been around for 1,000 years. And then from there, it had to come from the hand of Jesus and Brother Moses and 1,500 years before that. So we have the Bible. It's been inspired. It's been written. It's been translated. It's all been controlled by God because the Bible is God. Oh yeah, the Bible is God. That's the scriptures. In the beginning was the Word was with God, and the Word was God, and the Word was made flesh and dwelt among us. We beheld His glory, the glory of the only begotten Son of God, of the Father. Glory, the only begotten glory of the Father. So, John 1 tells us that the words that are found in the King James, these words translated represent God's words. And so that's what we believe. We're called King James people. And there are many, many millions of people around the whole earth that believe that. That the Bible had to be wondrously preserved, and it had to be preserved while it was translated because the letters were numbered. You see, the Bible was written by the letters of the Hebrew language, which were numbers. Every letter in the Hebrew language, 22, was a number. And so they took those letters, turned them into numbers, and then copied it over and over and over. They never made a mistake. There was no way you could make a mistake, even when you copied it from one transcription to another, because they were all numbers. Each word had a numerical total, so they were able to keep it very accurate the same way a computer does. So God knew that, and He preserved the Bible. You don't know that. Most of the Christian world doesn't even understand what I'm saying, but after many, many years of reading everything I could get my hands on, and reading where we got the Bible, and reading all the documents and all the papers, and interesting, like Haley's Handbook, such an accurate transcription of the Bible. And then the thousands of pages that were found by Flanders Petrie, some 5,000 papers in 1900 in a trash pile. And so they were able to go back and find many, many thousands of copies, 5,000 copies of papers that dealt with the translation and the preservation of the Scriptures that certified that the King James was accurate. Just like the original, flawless, pure, clean. And the Bible says that about itself, you know. The Word of God is like silver tried in a furnace of earth, purified 7 times. Thou shalt keep them, O Lord. Thou shalt preserve them from this generation forever. It's Psalm chapter 12. So tonight I'm just reminding you of the Bible. I like this. John 3:16. For God so loved the world that He gave His only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in Him should not perish, but have everlasting life. Christian soldier, God has everlasting life for you, and it's all grace. For by grace are you saved, through faith that not of yourself. It is a gift of God. It's not of any works. And so tonight we'll be talking about how Moses was used by God to bring us the Bible. But how Moses, you know, when he had the snake, put it on a brass serpent and put it in the wilderness there had millions of people walking around. And God was judging them, so He put not a few snakes. God sent millions of snakes, and they were biting the pickings out of them. Poisonous snakes. And Moses said, all you got to do is look. And so they didn't have to do any work, no repentance, no tithing, nothing. All they had to do was look. And we'll talk about that story in a few minutes. But when they looked, by faith, that was it, instantly they were healed. Because the healing is inside your head. You see, the chemicals that you need to neutralize any kind of chemical that's poisonous is in your head. I mean, after all, we have hydrochloric acid, very concentrated hydrochloric acid in your stomach, but you don't die from it. See, God has all the chemicals that you need. There's 100,000 different kinds of proteins that are in every single cell in your body. And those cells have that material enough that God can simply stimulate this computer to make it heal itself from any disease. That's how He healed everybody. He healed them in their head, in their mind. So do you have the faith? And they would say, Lord. As soon as they called Him Lord, they were instantly healed. Now you know all that, right? So tonight I'm just reciting a couple of things with you. Jesus said, I'm the way, the truth, and the life. No man comes to God the Father but by me. You can't go through the back door of the church. In the Catholic Baptist Church, nobody's going to help you get to God. The churches are blind and dumb, okay? Jesus is the light of the world. I'm the bright and morning star, he said. Revelation 22. He's not Lucifer. And then he said, I'm the bread of life. He that cometh to me shall never hunger. He said, I'm the living water. If you drink of this water, you'll live forever, John 2. See, we have 30-some verses here, actually 40, where he says, I'm the light. I am. He says this over and over. I hope you'll read through and find the I ams in the Bible. Wonderful what he said. And then he says, as sin hath reigned unto death, might grace reign through righteousness unto eternal life by Jesus Christ our Lord. And that's Romans 5:21. As grace is reigned. So tonight we're saved by grace. For by grace are you saved through faith, and not yourselves. There's only 220 words in the Bible called grace. 228 different verses in the Bible. Paul writes most of them. Grace, grace, free, free, gift, gift. Christian soldier, we're saved by grace. It's all the work of God. All you got to do is look at the blood of the Lord Jesus Christ on the cross, and you instantly have grace. Unless you want to write your own Bible. That's what the Bible says. That's the King James. We've got so many different stories today, people don't have any idea how to go to heaven. It's so wonderful, so simple, so free. I'm looking at the book of Exodus. You got your Bible? I don't know how we get through all of this tonight in just a few minutes, but we're going to try our best to look at one of those longest stories of anything of all the different patriots that are in the Bible. We've gone through Elijah, Elias, we've gone through Job, Rahab, the harlot, we've gone through Jacob and Abraham and Isaac. We've gone through some 20 different patriots in the Bible. Each week we take a different patriot. If you go back and look on Facebook, you'll see that we had Jonah, we've had all the different patriots, you know. And as we studied all them, I'm just thankful to God tonight that we're taking up Moses. One of the most difficult, because his life encompassed so many different things. Moses was ordered by God to take his rod, and he brought forth 10 different miracles. Then finally he threw his rod down and said, okay, fine, it's going to become a snake. And then one time he told Pharaoh, he said, this rod here is going to kill all the firstborn, and your son's going to die. Pharaoh said, oh, get out of here. And so he let him go. That's the story we're looking at tonight. So I just rehearsed a couple of things about Moses. Main thing about Moses, the two major things, is he struck the side of a mountain with a stick and water came out. And then again, when they needed water, he did it again, but he did it twice, and God said, you die. I kill you right here. And so Moses died out there in the wilderness. He never got out of there because he struck the rock, which represents the Bible. He had Jesus dying twice, is what it means. And God said, you're not going to get out of here. And Moses died out there and they never found his body. And so God is telling us, hey, look, I created everything from hydrogen gas. Or I even made the hydrogen gas. It didn't happen by accident. The DNA and RNA and all the things that deal with organic chemistry, that was the first part of my life, memorizing and studying everything in biology and chemistry and teaching it for 50 years. I'm thankful to God that I found the Bible. Bible saved me. Then I found out where we got it. So I'm no complete dummy and a fool, and neither are you. How did we get the Bible? It was done by God, preserved by God, translated by God, and supernaturally preserved flawlessly in an encoded language, letters and numbers. And so the Bible tonight, we have it. Amen? And I was going to give you a bunch of verses, but I got to go ahead. I'm in chapter 1 of Exodus, verse 22. And Pharaoh is killing all the children because he's heard that some little kid has been born, going to be born. He's going to come back and take over the throne. And Pharaoh's scared to death. And so he goes and kills all the kids. And that's in Exodus 1:22. And so what comes out of there? In Exodus chapter 2, here you've got a beautiful young lady and sees him floating down in an ark of bulrushes. She runs out and grabs it and hands a little child in a bulrush. This is little Moses. His name is Moses. And so she picks him up as Pharaoh's daughter and she raises him. And he's taken care of and given the finest kind of life. in education, and food, and luxury, because he's from the priestly tribe. That's what it said. He's from the tribe of Levi. That says it in 2:1. Exodus 2:1. We'll stay in Exodus for a while. 2:1. And so God is preserving the Bible for us. And so he's got Moses coming. And so Moses killed somebody when he was running the show out there. He's about 30 years of age. He goes out and kills somebody because he got in an argument. He was trying to help the guy. And it ended up, and so he killed him. Well, Moses is terrified, so he runs for his life. And he runs all the way over to the land of Midian. And so you want to go over there and find where he does that. That's 2:21. And here's a beautiful young lady. She's got a lot of sisters. Her name is Zipporah. And he's over there in the land of Iran today. He had to go all the way from Egypt to Iran, about 200 miles north. And so he's there. And then God remembers the covenant that he made with the Jewish people. Verse 24, 2:24. He remembers them. They're groaning and they're complaining. They've been 430 years in the wilderness. And what are they doing? They're not picking cotton. No, they're building the cities of Rameses and working 12 hours a day in the hot sun with bricks and mortar. You see? And then Moses says, well, I think I'm going to get out of here. So if you'll notice there, he walks across the desert, chapter 3, verse 14. He sees a burning bush. And bushes that are burning will burn up. This one wasn't burning up. And so God spoke to him and said, Moses, and Moses said, who are you? And he says, I am. And that word means Yahweh, Y-A-H-W-Y, Yahweh. My name is Yahweh. Oh, what do you want me to do, Lord? He said, take your shoes off and then get out of here and go tell everybody over there that I'm going to deliver them. They're in slavery. And so Moses runs around and goes over to Pharaoh, and you hear the whole story. You remember the story. Moses tells everybody, listen, you're going to have to kill animals, little lambs. When you kill them, the blood is going to be an atonement. It's going to preserve you from being thrown in the lake of fire. If you don't get your sin covered, because in the Old Testament you cover the sin, Jesus washed our sins away. In the Old Testament, atonement means covered. Tell them that, kill an animal, and so that's what Moses did. And so Moses now has got everybody, all the Jews are all killing their animals, and now God wants to take them after 430 years. He's going to take them out of slavery. And so Pharaoh was like Hitler. He was mutilating in bitter torment, killing the people and tormenting them. 430 years, he's going to take them out. God tells Moses, tell him to take a lamb and kill it, take the blood and strike it on the doorpost in 3 places. Top, the bottom, 3 places, right? Top and bottom. 3 places, the same as the blood of Jesus on the cross. You know the story of the cross. All of these are parallels of Jesus dying on the cross. Without that, there's no hope for anybody. And so Moses is going to, he told him, I'm killing your firstborn. And so he does. He's going to kill them all. And he did the miracles, 10 miracles, the flies, the fleas, all the different things that he brought judgment, fire down from heaven. He brought snakes. He brought boils on everybody. He brought lice on everybody. And then finally, the hail comes down and kills the cattle. And then in Exodus, at the end of there, you got Exodus. He wouldn't let, Pharaoh said, I'm not letting anybody go. Chapter 11. He hardened his heart. And so Moses told him, now we're getting out of here. Chapter 12, Exodus 12. He said, take that blood, kill that little animal, and we're going to leave there, try to get out of here in the morning. So they went out there, and it says in verse 12:7, they had taken the blood and sprinkled it on the 2 side posts and on the upper doorpost. And they were eating some flesh of the chicken there, and the little animal there, verse 8. And then in the morning they headed out of there, because all the children of Israel, some 2.25 million, they're all following him. They're going to the Red Sea. It's a nice little journey, so it's going to take them a few days. They got to go down there, somewhere probably about 150 miles south of Tel Aviv in Jerusalem. They've got to go down to the Red Sea, called the Gulf of Aqaba. And at that place is where the water is going to be divided. It's only 3,000 feet deep. And how are they going to get across with 3,000 feet deep? God had placed there a little isthmus. It was a little land bridge, 150, 200 feet underneath what they found it, by the way. So it's still there. It's a land bridge. So God then puts together about 10 major kinds of tornadoes all at once blowing the same way, and the water goes back. And now 2.25 million people go down to the water, and when they get there, their feet are dry. And so they walk all the way across in the middle of the night, 5,000 abreast, and they walk like fast as they can to get on the other side. And here comes an army behind them. It's about a 1 million man army, and they've got all bows and arrows and swords, and they're going to kill them. And Pharaoh's army is chasing them. And that's what we find. And so when they get there, you're looking at chapter 14, and the story is that they all drown in the sea. 14:28, the waters returned, the chariots were covered with water, the horsemen. There wasn't even one person that lived through the whole thing. He killed every single soldier that was in the Pharaoh's army. And then they walked on dry land, verse 29. And then all the Jews, 2 million Jews, they saw the great work of God, verse 31, 14:31. Wow. Then they get out in the desert. And the first place they get to is Mara. Chapter 15, they start walking. And they're walking out there. Now you've got 2 million walking for 40 years in the wilderness. And how do you feed them? How do you give them water? That's impossible. Soldier, don't you understand we're talking about the Bible is impossible? You can't go to heaven. You can't save yourself. A church can't help you. I don't care how big the church is. You could be Joel or Pastor Hagee. Nobody can save you. Your church doesn't do nothing for you to save you. Unless a minister gets in there and gets the King James and reads it to you. Salvation is of the Lord. That's what we studied last week about Jonah after it was 3 days and 3 nights in the belly of the fish. We've got to get to the point where we believe God supernaturally. He made you from hydrogen gas. He designed it. He fabricated it. He put all the, as I said, 100,000 proteins in every single cell and 300 trillion cells in your body. There's a lot of that. I don't have the time to get into your science, but I'm telling you, think out of the box. God's making the stars and the planets and the moons. He's making all the different things that are made out of plants and animals and alligators and elephants. He's controlling it right now. It's a program. We're not here by accident. God has everything totally mathematics. High and low mathematics. The Bible is written in math. God deals in mathematics. Everything is in numbers and letters. He knows what's happening with you. And so here we got to chapter 15. And they get to Mara, verse 23, 15, 23. And of course, as they get into that, you're going to find out as they get to chapter 17. And chapter 17 is called the wilderness of sin. It's called the wilderness of sin. And you know what God does? God says, Moses, take your rod, hit the rock, and water comes flying out. And that's what happened. It says in chapter 17 of Exodus, and it says, verse 6, I'll stand before you in the rock of Horeb, and when you hit the rock, water will come out of it. And he did it. He did it in the side. And the people were still complaining. And so God then in verse number 8 says, he sends Amalek. Who's Amalek? Those are the Arabs. Islam, Baal worshippers. That's Iraq, Iran, and Afghanistan. But we're not allowed to say that, you see, because they're telling you now you got to clean up your language. Don't say anything about the Catholics. Don't say anything about Islam, Muslim. We can't do that. They're all saying that now. We watch TV and you see they're all apologizing because they're stepping on somebody's toes. Listen, it says here in Exodus 17, then came Amalek, verse 8, and they had a war. And you know what else? He said the war is going to go on forever. It's never going to stop. Amalek is the devil, Balaam and Islam, and all the false religions that are going by Kabbalah. These are all the vain imaginary stories that are made up by worshiping the stars and the Mazzaroth and the demons and the devils by Freemasonry. Hey, Freemasons, they're just regular guys. They can't seem to be able to see through the fog. I heard today that, what's his name? Did you hear that Bush is buying one of the big baseball teams? I heard that today. I saw Bush, the younger Bush. Yeah, the one that ran for the presidency. He's buying one of the. I thought, well, boy, Dad's going to fund the whole thing. It's only like about $7 billion to buy it. You know, Dad's got the money. He's the head of the Masons, George Bush Sr. You know, and him and Bill Clinton, they got the money. Yeah. And Obama, he used to be part of it. He's still now running the show secretively. And so Amalek comes, and then you have to have a war with the flesh, verse 16. And that 17:16, a war is going to go on with your flesh, because what happens is after you're saved, you're a saved sinner. You're still the same person. You still have to struggle every day to get out of bed to go to work. It's not easy. You're going to look at a woman, you're going to lust after her, you're going to try not to, but you're going to do it. Why? Because you're a saved sinner. And so you're going to constantly be struggling against the flesh for money and sex and glory and honor and perversion and homosexuality and everything else. It's all a work of the flesh. But God wants you to be a good Christian soldier, sir. You can stand up against the things of the devil, even in your own mind, and let the blood of Jesus cleanse you every day, and take time to read your Bible and pray, or you'll be a washout. And so we have left now the book of Exodus. Numbers 21, he sends the snakes. I'm going to look at real fast now. I'm going to go to Numbers 21. And in Numbers 21, Moses is ordered by God to take a pole, put a brass serpent on it, looks like a snake, and then God sends all those snakes out there, millions of them. God does it. I mean, they don't just happen to just pop out there by their accident. These are sent by God. And then that's what God said, verse 21:5, number 21:5. God sent fiery serpents in 21:6, and they bit the people, and many people died. And God told Moses, put a pole out there with a serpent of brass on it, and all you got to do is look at it. Moses said, wait a minute, God. What do you mean, look at it? Don't they have to work? God said, no. No, just have them look. And when they look, instantaneously the poison will be neutralized. Because I have the poison, the remedy, it's inside their body. The chemicals are there. I'm able to use their computer and fashion a neutralization, you know. In other words, how do you neutralize an acid? Those poisons are acid. You have to have a base. And your body's full of bases, okay? They work all day long. And they regulate your pH in your blood, okay? So God from within is able to heal anybody of any disease, including cancer. He don't come out of the sky to heal you from cancer. He heals you for the chemicals that are in your own body. God is a healer, and he's able to use the chemicals that are already there. He put them in there way back in the atom. Part of understanding the chemistry, organic chemistry, thank God for that. But in 21, verse 6, the snakes are biting everybody. Wow. And so now we're looking at Matthew. I'm going to jump to Matthew, and I want you to look at chapter 2. Who's killing all the babies? Remember that when you were growing up as a little kid, you went to Sunday school, and you heard that there was a mean guy, and he was killing all the babies, and he was looking to see, kill Jesus. Remember that story? Now look at Matthew. Wait a minute, I'm going to get to the right place. Matthew 2. I'm going to find it. Matthew 2. The story is that there's a guy named Herod. And Herod is worse than a terrorist, worse than Hitler. In Matthew chapter 2, he orders the death of Jesus because Jesus is under 2 years of age, and Mary takes off with Joseph and runs down the street and heads off to Egypt. And in chapter 2, what is taking place? Now, here's the reason why. Chapter 2, we have the wise men are coming. Remember, they come on camels? And it says that in chapter 2, verse 1 and 2, they're coming into Bethlehem because they saw a star. What was that star? The story is that a guy named Balaam, who was kind of a lukewarm minister, God told him, he said, Balaam, go tell everybody that a star is coming. And he wrote it down in the Bible, way back in the Bible. And so the wise men, they read across that, and they said, oh, you mean a Messiah is coming? It's going to save the Jews from the Romans? And so they came to Bethlehem, the wise men did, and when they met Herod, he was the Roman head of the Roman government, he said, what are you guys here for? They said, we're here because we heard that the Messiah is coming. What do you mean, Messiah? Oh yeah, he's going to save us from the terrible pains and sufferings from the Roman government. And so they had that exchange of information in Matthew 2. And so verse number 9, it says that the wise men left where they were, and they were following a star. Something supernatural was occurring, and it had a little light that was going up right in front of them, like it was in the wilderness, because they had that for 40 years in the wilderness. And they came right to Bethlehem, and they're looking for Jesus to be born. You remember what happened in Micah chapter 5, 1 and 2? God had predicted that Jesus would be born in Bethlehem, Judea. And then 5, 2 and 3. What a story, prophetically. Jesus had to come, be born in Bethlehem. And this is Matthew chapter 2. We've been talking about it. And so they brought frankincense and myrrh. That's the story at Christmas time, verse number 11. And then the word of God is being fulfilled here. And verse 14, Matthew 2:14, Mary takes off with Joseph, little baby Jesus, under 2 years of age, and they go to hide in Egypt for a while, and then they come back. And then we just read that. That was chapter 2. And that's the story. I told you that it was really hard to do all this because we have to cover the whole Bible, and I don't want to leave too much out. So they're going to kill him, but they didn't kill him. And so, like, remember Pharaoh? As we said, Pharaoh wanted to kill Joseph, wanted to kill, Moses. So Moses was almost killed, saved in bulrushes by Pharaoh's daughter and all that. And then now Jesus is being saved because they're being warned, and Mary takes him to Egypt. So it's the same story. Jesus is a patriot. Moses is a picture of Jesus. Job was a picture of Jesus. Abraham was a picture of Jesus. We went through some 20 of them, you know. And you remember Gideon was a picture, different ones. Last week we had Francis, and then we had some of the others. So a whole bunch of them. God bless. I hope you'll see all the videos that we've done in the last 6 months. Okay. In Matthew 26, we have the story of Jesus. He is now being put on trial. 6 false trials. 6 in the total. 3 at night, 3 in the morning, middle of 8 9 o'clock at night. They start putting him on trial. And the first thing he does, he goes before Caiaphas. And I'm in Matthew 26, verse 47, as Jesus is being put on the cross. We're reading 26:47. Are you there, patriot? Are you there, Christian soldier? Yes. Say it. Okay, amen. Thank you. Amen. Okay. And while, verse 47, 26:47, and while they were talking, the whole multitude came to attack Jesus, tie him up and take him to the cross. And in verse 47 it says, Judas comes with a great multitude. They've got swords and sticks and staves and rods. He comes with the elders of the people. This is the Sanhedrin. And he kissed Jesus on the cheek, verse 48. And Jesus said, friend, why'd you come here? He said, I came to betray you. You were supposed to die. I'm doing my job. God told me to betray you. And then to cast the 30 pieces of silver and throw it down in the temple. And so he did all that. You know the story. And then the disciples were scared to death. In verse 56, they all forsook him and fled. They took off. They were scared to death. And then he goes before the chief priests and the elders. This is at night, about 8 o'clock at night, verse 59. They were seeking false witnesses in verse 59, 26:59. They couldn't find any. They needed 2. Finally they got 1, then finally they got 2. And then in verse 63, we have them threatening him. This is the chief priest now, Caiaphas. This is 26:63, Matthew. And he said, I threaten you in the living God, verse 63. Tell us whether you're the Christ, the Son of God or not. And what does Jesus say? Well, he says in verse 64, hereafter you'll see the Son of Man sitting in the right hand of power, coming in the clouds. And he's coming back in the clouds. Why is he coming back in the clouds? Because he wants to save the handful of people in this church. Jesus said, I didn't come to destroy, I came to fulfill. I came to save you. He's coming back to save us. And you're going to go up. Don't get mixed up now, because we're going to get into this in a minute. Whatever you do, don't get mixed up with the day of the Lord and the day of Christ. They're two different events. The day of the Lord is at the end when he burns the whole earth up. The day of Christ is in the middle of the tribulation. Revelation 11. The beast is there, Abaddon. Everybody's taking the mark of the beast. That's in the middle. So we'll be talking about that in a minute. Right now, we've got to get Jesus crucified. And that's the story. And you'll notice that they come to Simon, verse 32. They cut down a tree. It's not like the one that's behind me, you know. They cut down a tree, and it weighs about 500 pounds. And they want Simon to carry it. They planted a crown of thorns on his head. They spit in his face. They hit him in the head with a rod. They yelled, crucify, crucify. That's 27. Verse number 30 and 31. And now Simon is carrying the cross. Verse 32. 27, 32. And now they gave him gall. That's poison. They gave him vinegar. That's bad. And he wouldn't drink it. Verse 34. 27, 34. And then they began to cast lots. They're betting against him. They wanted to get his clothes. And so that's what it said. Verse 35, they're casting lots. Part of the prophecy is about to be fulfilled, and wagging their heads. You that destroyed the temple, you say you can destroy it? Verse 40, 27, 40. Get off the cross, you loser! Come down! And they insulted him and called him all kinds of names, and I can't say that from the pulpit. Before I was a Christian, I used to say it, you see. And then, of course, there's an earthquake that occurs because he's dying. As he cries with a loud voice, 27:40, he yells up the ghost, 27:40. He yells, oh, I'm dying. Hello out there. Yelled up the ghost. And verse 51, 27:51, the veil of the temple is rent in twain. There was a gigantic earthquake like they had this week. Did you know they had over a 7 this week down in the edge of Peru and Chile? They're only having those like almost once a week now because we're at the end. You know, there only used to be 3 every 10 years. We would get 3 7s every 10 years. Now they're having them about once a month. They're all over the place. Why? We're at the end of the world. Jesus is coming. We want to be ready. Oh, you say, I'm ready. Oh, you're ready if you believe that Jesus is the Son of God. That's a good start. Amen. So Jesus died. The earthquake, the rocks rent, verse 27:51. They came out of the graves. We're talking about everybody that was in paradise came out. We're talking about millions and millions coming out of the graves. The veil of the temple is rent in twain, and they're coming out in verse 53, 27:53. And he appears to everybody. Now, all these coming out of paradise, they're running around, they're talking to everybody, and everybody says, oh, I thought you were dead. Yeah, I'm alive now. And then they rolled a great big stone right in front of the tomb, verse 60, 27:60. They wouldn't let him out. And they went and paid off and gave great sums of money to the guards. They said, guards, we give you money. When if he comes out of there, just tell him that, somebody stole his body. Whatever you do, tell him that he's the Son of God. So they paid him off. Verse 63, it says, sir, they tell him Pilate that. We remember he was a deceiver. He said, after 3 days, I'm going to rise again. Verse 27:64, command that the sepulchre be made secure. He can't let him out of there on the 3rd day. He told everybody, make him come out on the 4th day. Make him come out in the 5th day. But don't let him out on the 3rd day. Why, the Bible will be true. What do we do then if the Bible's true? We'll all end up in hell. That's exactly what he's telling us. So Jesus came out of the tomb, chapter 28, verse 1. You got a whole entourage. You got Mary there, and all of the friends of Mary, 28, 1 and 2. A great earthquake. The angel of the Lord is there. 2 angels are sitting in there. And they said in verse 6, 28:6, Matthew 28:6, he's risen, he's not here. Come in here and you can see his clothes laying here. And then they ran out and found Jesus. Verse 9, all hail, and they found Jesus. Now I want you to turn to the end of Matthew there, and you get to what we call the book of Acts. So in the book of Acts, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, then you got Acts. And so turn to Acts and see what happens there in the book of Acts. Acts chapter 1. We've said this before. You know one of the reasons why I do this so often? The same story. Because I realize now that America is made out of many people who go to church. And they spend so much time yelling and carrying on, or not doing anything, just not even really paying attention to the Bible. And you know, all that's good. You know, people want to yell, raise their hands for victory, you know, like Moses did. No, it's not. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just that don't save you. The Bible is what saves us. You've got to read your scriptures every day and confess your sins, or otherwise you're a hypocrite. The only way you can not be a hypocrite is read your Bible every day and pray and do what Jesus said. He said, I called you to be a disciple. Lay down yourself and humble yourself. And give all that you got to the poor and come follow me. You think anybody's doing that? No. No, they're yelling and screaming and hollering with their hands in the air for an hour at the chapels and at the big churches and on television, making a mockery of it all. Read the Bible. Just read the Bible. That's all you got to do, and you'll meet Jesus face to face when you read the Bible. And that's what he wants us to do. Christian soldier, I love you. I'm not fussing at you. Grace, grace, grace. Free, free, free. He only says it 220 times. Grace, 220 times, Brother Paul, when he calls Jesus the Son of God, 750 times. Now I'm going to ask you to turn to Acts chapter 1. And in Acts chapter 1, we're looking at that. Make it Acts chapter 1. There's 500 people now watching Jesus go up in the cloud. Acts chapter 1, verse number 9, Acts 1:9. When he had spoken these things, while beheld, he was taken up in a cloud and he disappeared. And then the angel said, the same Jesus that is going up, verse 10, Acts 1:10, you're going to see him come back to the earth. Now, if you can't find Jesus coming back to the earth in a cloud in your Bible teaching, then you get rid of that Bible teaching. Because Jesus said, I'm coming back in the clouds. And there's only one place in the whole book of Revelation where anybody's going up and where Jesus is going to appear in the clouds. That's Revelation 11, verse 12. It's not like it's found all over the whole Bible. We don't have any chance except to be ready. It's coming in the middle of the tribulation. It's not coming any minute. It's not coming at the beginning. It's not coming at the end. Jesus is coming in the middle because the whole story with 15 signs, and it's the only place we see people going up to the clouds. You don't have to be a genius and a scientist to read that. I don't know, the whole world seems there, and we say, well, they've been teaching for a long time, they're on TV, and surely they know what they're doing, but they don't. Surely, I'm not saying they're not saved, they know that we're saved sinners through the blood of Christ, for sure. But when you listen to them, and they're teaching the Bible, and about the only one close to it is Swagger, blessed soul. And so we were saying that Jesus is going to come back, and now I want you to turn to 1 Thessalonians, and I have to really close pretty quick. 1 Thessalonians chapter 1, verse 17. Turn there quickly, and then it says, verse 17, Paul is telling you about what we call the rapture of the Christians off the earth. 1 Thessalonians 4:17. Then we which are alive and remain shall be caught up together with them in the clouds to meet the Lord in the air. The word air there, by the way, is the word wind, W-I-N-D. I looked that up in the Greek, Strong's. And so we're not just going to go up and hang up out in the air, in the sky. No. The air there is the word winds. He's coming from the four winds. He's taking everybody off the earth. North, south, east, and west from the whole earth is going to be raptured. This is a picture of the rapture. He's coming in the clouds. And he said, you are alive and remain. Well, I've been here for a long time. 6,000 years we've been waiting here on the earth since Adam. 2,000 years since Jesus. He's talking about us today. This generation, this last of the 70 years, since 1948. The end of the 70 years, the coming of Jesus. And he said, you that are alive and remain. Now look at chapter 5 and learn something. One of the things that we want to learn here, Christian soldier, please, for God's sake, get your story in your head straight. The day of the Lord is not the day of Christ. They're two different events. The day of the Lord is mentioned many, many times, 20, 30 times in the Old Testament. It's called the day of the Lord, the day of the Lord, the day of the Lord. That's when Jesus burns up the whole earth. He sets it on fire. Only a few people live in the caves. Everybody's going to die like Noah's day. That's called the day of the Lord. Please notice that chapter 5 is talking about the day of the Lord. He's not talking about the day of Christ, the rapture here. Look at this now as I read 1 Thessalonians chapter 5. Times and seasons. Brothers, he's talking to Christians. Brother, you have no need that I write to you. Yourselves know perfectly that the day of the Lord, not the day of Christ, it comes as a thief in the night. The day of the Lord is when Jesus comes to burn up the whole earth. Revelation 16:15. He comes as a thief in the night to destroy. Jesus said, I come back to save you. When I come back, I don't come back to destroy you. I come back to save you. So when this Jesus comes back here, he's coming like a thief. He's coming to destroy the earth. Revelation 16:15. We don't get to it tonight. We're short on time. And then he says you're going to have something 3. Read verse 3 with me, the day of the Lord. 1 Thessalonians 5:3. When they shall say peace and safety, the signing of the pact by the Masons, Freemasons, sudden destruction comes upon them. Travail, pain, a woman having a child. Everybody's going to be running, grabbing their stomach because it's a woman having a baby. What does that mean? That was spoken by Isaiah. A woman is going to go through terrible pain, and then she's going to be delivering Jesus back to the earth to save the world for 1,000 years. That's what it's talking about. They'll not escape. It says, verse number 3, nobody's going to escape this. And he's telling you, verse number 4, 1 Thessalonians 5:4, brothers, he's saying, he's talking to Christians. These are saved people. Don't let that day overtake you as a thief. The only place I know of in the whole Bible that he comes as a thief is Revelation 16:15. Christian soldier, you better look at your Bible. Revelation 16:15 is the only place where he comes back as a thief to burn the whole earth up. And so, praise the Lord, you know that. Amen? It's called the day of wrath. By the way, before we close out there, it says wrath. Look at verse 9, 1 Thessalonians 5:9. God has not appointed us to wrath. He doesn't want you to go through the last 42 months of the 7 years of tribulation. He wants to take you up out in the middle. He doesn't want you to go through the terrible wrath for 42 months. But listen, tonight, are you saved? You say yes. Because you looked at the cross. You saw the blood. You saw the animal up there. It was Jesus. Like an animal. He was roasted. He was nothing but emaciated flesh. The Son of God. Can you imagine? How can we even scope this out? God, like an animal, totally torn to pieces, mutilated, one bloody hunk of mass. Bloody. And what's he doing? Paying for our sin. Called grace, 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 228 times. It's free. It's a gift. He says it 9 times. In Romans 5, 15 and 20. 9 times he says grace, gift, and free. Grace. We just look at the animal. This is a serpent of brass, a snake, and people by the millions were all healed instantly by Moses. King James. Why do we have a King James? Because 36,000 words are missing from the NIV and all the new Bibles. Basically all of them. 36,000. Because they were translated recently in the last 200 years from the perverted text called the Greek and Westcott and Hort text from the Vatican. It was all put out there by 2 Catholics from the Vatican, and that's the history of it. You say, I don't want to hear it. I go to a church and everybody has an NIV. Well, okay. It's not going to send you to hell, that's for sure. Because if you still believe that Jesus is the Son of God and you use your lips and you confess, because no man can call Jesus the Lord, 1 Corinthians 12:3, but by the Holy Ghost, Paul says. You can't call Jesus the Lord. He restricts you. He will not let you. You can't use your mouth. When you say, I believe Jesus Christ is the Lord, you're calling him God. John 1:1. He restricts people unless you want to write the Bible and say, oh no, I can go ahead and I can call Jesus the Lord and not be saved. Well then write your own Bible and die on the cross and prove you're the Son of God by fulfilling 400 prophecies from the Old Testament. Don't be a moron, okay? Spiritually, you're dumb, you're blind, and you're putting yourself in with all the blind Jews that are in the earth today. Don't do that. Be wise. Read your Bible. You're a Christian soldier. Come out of the box and really believe the Bible. I know many of you are my friends. I taught quite a few of you, probably 3,000 to 4,000 that are still around someplace. God loves you. I love you. King James. Just read the Bible. Let's get our act straight. Get away from chasing the guys. Get away from chasing the girls with their string bikinis, okay? That's not it. Be a Christian soldier. Live a dedicated, godly life, a Christian life. Read your Bible. Be what God wants you to be. We're at the end. You got 6 months before March of 2018. Don't you understand how close we are? 6,000 years? Oh, I'm telling you, you're going to be there screaming and hollering and carrying on if you're not saved and everybody's left you in the middle of the trip. 42 months, 2 witnesses dead, many signs, Revelation 11, verse 12. Thank you, God. Thank you, Christ. Thank you, Holy Spirit of God, that you allowed me to get through this incredible story with Moses, a picture of the cross of Jesus, the serpent of brass, and then Moses taking him out, leading him out through the Red Sea, from the wilderness of sin. All the wonderful, beautiful stories of Moses, a picture of Jesus. Wonderful Bible. God wrote the Bible, Christian soldier. God bless.